You know that quiet ache of feeling completely on your own. It visits in a crowded room or in the middle of a personal struggle. This subtle but persistent sense of being a separate self, cut off from everything else. What if that feeling, as real as it seems, is the greatest misunderstanding of your life? This is the starting point for a timeless teaching called I Am That, from the ancient wisdom path known as Advaita Vedanta. It is not a philosophy to believe, but a reality to recognize. By the end of our journey, you will see your own life through a lens of profound and unshakable connection. We will explore a series of deceptively simple tales, stories where kings and beggars, seekers and sages all stumble into the same stunning truth. What does it truly mean to be no one and yet to be everything? Which story will quietly dismantle the wall you never knew you built? This core idea is often translated into three simple words: I am that. At first glance, it can sound like a riddle or a statement of grandiosity. It is neither. This phrase is a precise map pointing directly to the experience you are having right now. The I am is the undeniable fact of your own presence. Before any thought about who you are, before your name, your job, your memories, there is this simple, aware presence. You know you exist. That knowing is the I am. It is pure consciousness, the silent witness behind all your thoughts and feelings. Now the word that points to everything that seems to be not you. The screen in front of you, the sound of your breath, the vast expanse of the night sky, the intelligence in a growing tree. It is the ultimate reality, the source and substance of the entire universe. The revolutionary claim of this teaching is that these are not two things. I am and that are one and the same reality, seen from two different angles. You are not a separate person looking out at a separate world. You are the awareness in which both the person and the world appear. Think of a single wave in the ocean. The wave may have a unique shape, a temporary name, a beginning and an end. It might believe itself to be entirely separate from the ocean around it. But what is the wave truly but what are temporarily formed? Its substance is ocean. Its existence is ocean. The wave is the ocean expressing itself as a wave. In the same way, what you call yourself, this temporary collection of thoughts and sensations, is a unique expression of the one conscious reality. You are not in the universe is in you because you are the awareness that holds the experience of it. This is why that feeling of separation causes such deep suffering. It is like a wave constantly fighting against the ocean, fearing its own end, never realizing it is the ocean itself. All our striving, our loneliness, our anxiety stems from this fundamental misidentification. We believe we are the small, fragile wave, and so we spend our lives trying to protect it, to make it bigger, to give it permanence. The tales we are about to explore are not fables about distant enlightenment. They are stories of ordinary moments where this misidentification cracks and someone, often by surprise, gets a glimpse of the ocean. They are stories of recognition where the seeker realizes there is nothing to seek because what they are looking for is what is already looking. So as we listen to these tales, hold this question lightly, not as a puzzle to solve with your mind, but as a possibility to feel. What if the peace you seek is not something to attain, but something to remember you already are? A weary traveler finally stood at the foot of a mountain, his sandals worn thin and his spirit nearly broken. For years he had journeyed, following maps and rumors, seeking the legendary sage said to possess the ultimate truth. He climbed the steep path, his mind rehearsing the profound questions he would ask. What is the nature of reality? How can I find lasting peace? What is my true purpose? Upon reaching the simple hut at the summit, he found the sage sitting quietly, gazing at the distant horizon. The sage did not look like a repository of secret knowledge. He looked ordinary, peaceful, and utterly present. Breathless and full of expectation, the traveler poured out his story of struggle and seeking, his long pilgrimage for enlightenment. He finished with a plea, "Please, Master, show me the path to liberation." The sage turned his gentle gaze upon the exhausted man. He did not offer a complex teaching. He did not give him a new mantra or a set of practices. Instead, he asked a simple question: "Who is it that seeks?" The traveler was confused. He stammered, "It is I who seek. I am here and you are there, and I have come to learn from you." The sage smiled softly and shook his head. "Look more closely," he said. "Before the thought 'I am the seeker' arose, what was here? Before the story of your long journey began, what was present? Sit quietly and tell me what remains when you stop telling yourself the story of being a seeker on a path." Frustration bubbled up in the traveler. He had come all this way for a technique, a revelation, not for what felt like a word game. But something in the sage's unwavering presence compelled him to try. He closed his eyes and let go of his mental narrative. He stopped trying to be the diligent student. For a moment, the constant inner chatter about the past and the future fell silent. In that gap, he noticed something he had overlooked his entire life. A vast, peaceful awareness was simply here, had always been here, watching the breath, hearing the wind, feeling the sun. It was the same awareness that had witnessed every step of his journey, every hope and every disappointment. This awareness was not something he needed to find. It was what was doing the looking. The sage, the mountain, the feeling of his own body, all were appearing within this same field of knowing. The seeker and the sought were made of the same substance. The traveler opened his eyes and everything was the same, yet completely different. The sage was still sitting there, but the imagined distance between them had vanished. He had not gained a new piece of knowledge. He had recognized what he had never lost. The path, the seeking, the exhausting pilgrimage. It had all been a dream within the very awareness he was trying to reach. The sage's final words were not an instruction, but a confirmation. "You see," he said, "the one who was seeking is what was being sought. You are already home. You were just walking around the house looking for the front door while standing in the living room." This tale cuts to the heart of a common trap. The very activity of seeking can secretly reinforce the sense of separation. It sets up a dynamic where there is a small, incomplete me here and a big, complete truth over there to be attained in the future. Every step on the spiritual path, if misunderstood, can shout the message, "You are not there yet." But the sage's pointing reveals the opposite. True realization is not an acquisition. It is a homecoming. It is the recognition that the peace, the wholeness, the consciousness you are looking for is not an object to be found. It is the very subject that is looking. It is what you are right now before any effort, any journey, any story. The exhaustion of the traveler mirrors our own fatigue from constantly trying to become something, to fix ourselves, to reach a future state of perfection. What if the effort itself is the only thing in the way? What if you paused the search just for a moment and noticed what has been present all along, quietly witnessing the entire search party? The king awoke in his silken bed, his heart pounding not from fear, but from a disorientation so deep it felt like drowning in dry air. For a moment, the memory of cold stone against his back was more real than the velvet beneath him. He had just lived an entire lifetime, not as a king, but as a beggar named Arjun. The dream had not been a fleeting fantasy. It was a life complete in every aching detail. He remembered the gnawing emptiness in his belly, the way his thin clothes offered no shield against the monsoon rains. He felt the sting of indifference in the eyes of passers-by, nobles in fine carriages who looked through him as if he were a ghost. He knew the simple, profound joy of a warm piece of bread shared with another beggar, a joy that somehow felt more real than any feast in his palace. Most vividly, he remembered the constant whispering thought, "I am Arjun. I am cold, I am hungry, I am alone." That sense of being a separate, fragile self was absolute. And in the dream, it was his entire reality. Now, sitting on his throne hours later, the gold felt heavy and strangely foreign. A courtier approached, bowing low, to present a petition from a farmer in a drought-stricken province. As the king looked at the man's worried face, something impossible happened. He did not see a subject. For a flash, he saw Arjun. He saw himself, not the king playing a role, but the same fundamental awareness, the same I am, looking out from behind those different eyes, wearing a different set of circumstances like another set of clothes. The shock was not intellectual, it was a visceral unraveling. The walls of the throne room, the hierarchies of his court, the very idea of my life and your life began to shimmer like a mirage. If the essence of the beggar Arjun and the essence of King Rajveer were the same conscious presence, then what was royalty? What was poverty? They were merely costumes, temporary roles being played on the stage of awareness. The profound moral of this tale is not merely be kind to the poor. It is far more radical. True compassion is not a moral obligation you muster from your superior position. It is what naturally flows when the illusion of separation dissolves. When you look at another person and you sense, even dimly, that the same alive, aware presence that animates you is animating them, judgment becomes impossible. How can you despise or ignore or exploit what you fundamentally are? The king's dream broke the most stubborn barrier of all, the ego's story of specialness. His luxury, his power, his very identity were revealed as fleeting appearances, not his true substance. His true substance was the same as the beggars, the same as the courtiers, the same as the farmers. This seeing does not erase the practical realities of the world. The king did not abandon his throne to become a beggar. Instead, he ruled from an entirely new place. His decisions were no longer just for the preservation of his royal self, but arose from a felt sense of connection. Governance became an act of caring for oneself in another form. This is the end of us versus them. When you deeply understand that the I am in you is the I am in everyone, the beggar on the street and the CEO in the penthouse are both recognized as the same conscious reality, momentarily forgetting itself in a fascinating, often painful dream of difference. Your reaction to others transforms not because you are trying to be good, but because you can no longer pretend they are truly other. The frustration was a physical pressure, a tight coil of heat behind her eyes. Sarah sat perfectly still in her car, knuckles white on the steering wheel, trapped in a river of unmoving red taillights. The dashboard clock ticked over another minute. Late again, her mind was a furious monologue, a storm of blame aimed at the city planners, the reckless driver 3 cars ahead, her boss for scheduling the meeting so early, and ultimately at her own life for being this constant, exhausting scramble. The story was so familiar, so convincing. I am Sarah who is stuck. I am the one who is going to fail. I am separate from all these other idiots in their cars, and we are all in competition for the same space, the same time, the same success. Then, through the half-open window, a sound pierced the mental noise. It was the clear, liquid song of a sparrow perched on a power line, utterly indifferent to the traffic jam below. For one split second, her attention was ripped completely away from the story in her head and landed fully on that sound. In that instant, something broke. The coil of frustration didn't just loosen, it vanished. Not because the traffic moved, but because the one who was frustrated simply wasn't there anymore. What remained was vast, quiet, and incredibly spacious. She was still in the car, the red light still glowed, the song of the bird was still happening. But the solid sense of a separate Sarah at the center of it all, suffering because of it, had dissolved like a mirage. There was just experiencing the feeling of the seat fabric under her hands. The play of morning light on the hood of the car, the sound of the engine idling, all of it was simply happening in a wide open, peaceful awareness. There was no one inside her head commenting on it, judging it, or claiming it as mine. The awareness was not personal, it was just awake, and it was everything: the car, the bird, the light, the feeling of breath, all were equal appearances within this awake space. The boundary between the seer and the seen had blurred into transparency. This is not a mystical trance, this is the direct, unadorned experience of I am that, stripped of all philosophy. In that moment, Sarah did not think I am that, she was it. The I am, the pure, conscious presence was undeniable, and the entire content of the experience, the traffic jam and the bird song, was not separate from that presence. It was all one seamless event perceived by itself. The separate me was a thought that had momentarily stopped playing, and reality was revealed not as a problem to be solved by a person, but as a vivid, ever-changing expression of awareness itself. The traffic eventually began to move. The thought stream about being late and anxious returned, but it was different now. It was like watching a familiar, slightly dramatic movie play across the screen of that same spacious awareness. She could engage with it, drive the car, plan her apology to the boss, but the fundamental identification was broken. She knew, not as a concept but as a felt memory, that her deepest identity was not the stressed character in the story, but the open awareness in which the entire story, stressful or peaceful, comes and goes. This is the secret hidden in plain sight within every single moment of our ordinary lives. You do not need a mountain or a king's dream. The trigger can be anything: a bird's song, a child's laughter, the sudden pattern of rain on a window, anything that shocks you out of the narrative and into the naked reality of the now. In that shock, the wall you've built between yourself and the world is seen for what it always was, a thought, and for a breathtaking moment you are home again, not as a person who has arrived somewhere, but as the space in which all arrival and departure takes place. The ancient sages spoke of two birds living in the same tree. One bird, perched on the lower branches, is restless and consumed. It hops from twig to twig, pecking eagerly at the fruits it finds. Some fruits are sweet, and the bird chirps with delight. Others are bitter, and it squawks in distress, shaking its head. Its entire world is the frantic cycle of seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and reacting to every taste. This bird is the individual self, the ego, the one we usually think we are. It is forever entangled in the drama of experience, believing the fruits of life, our successes and failures, our joys and sorrows, are its very identity. High above, on the very top branch of the same tree, sits the second bird. It does not hop, it does not peck, it simply watches, serene and unmoving, its gaze calm and all-encompassing. It witnesses the frantic activity of the first bird, the sweetness and the bitterness, but it remains completely untouched, free and at peace. This is the universal self, the silent witness, pure awareness itself. The tree, of course, is the body and mind, the field of all our experiences. Now here is the secret the metaphor reveals. These are not two separate creatures. They are two perspectives within one being. The lower bird is what we experience when we are completely identified with our thoughts, our feelings, and our personal story. We believe we are the one tasting the bitter fruit of a traffic jam, a harsh word, a personal failure. We believe we are the one clinging to the sweet fruit of praise, accomplishment, or comfort. Our life becomes an exhausting series of reactions. The upper bird is what we are when we simply pause and notice. It is the background awareness that is present right now, reading these words, hearing the sounds around you, feeling the air on your skin. It does not comment, it does not judge, it does not claim any experience as its own. It is the space in which all experiences arise and pass away. This is the witness consciousness. You have already met it. Remember Sarah in the traffic jam, in that moment when the story of frustration stopped and there was just open, peaceful awareness of the bird song and the red lights. That was the upper bird waking up to itself. The profound shift from suffering to freedom happens not by changing the fruits on the tree. Bitter and sweet experiences will always come and go. It happens when your sense of identity migrates from the lower bird to the upper one. When you realize, I am not the one eating the fruit, I am the one watching the eating. This does not make you cold or detached from life. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with life fully, but without the crushing weight of personal drama. You can savor the sweet fruits without clinging to them, knowing they are temporary. You can taste the bitter ones without being destroyed by them, knowing they too will pass. You are no longer a prisoner of the lower branches because you know your true seat is in the boundless sky of awareness that holds the entire tree. This witness is not separate from what it witnesses. That is the final, beautiful twist. The watching bird and the tree are made of the same essence. The awareness and the content of awareness are one reality. The upper bird is not aloof, it is profoundly intimate with everything. It is the silence at the heart of every sound, the stillness at the core of every movement. To rest as the witness is to realize you were never truly entangled in the first place. You were always the spacious, silent presence in which the fascinating, sometimes difficult play of life unfolds. So the next time you find yourself squawking on a lower branch, caught in a reaction of anger, fear, or craving, pause. Take one conscious breath, and in that pause ask who is aware of this reaction. Do not answer with a thought, just feel the space around the feeling. That spaciousness, that silent knowing, is the other bird, and it has been waiting for you to look up and remember where you truly live. Each of these tales shares a single, luminous thread. In every case, freedom arrived not through effort but through a sudden, quiet recognition. The traveler stopped telling his story of seeking and saw he was the awareness he sought. The king stopped believing he was only his royal role and recognized the same presence in the beggar. Sarah stopped identifying with her frustration and for a moment was simply the open space where traffic and birdsong happened. The frantic bird looked up and realized its true nature as the silent witness. Nothing new was added, no secret doctrine was downloaded. The shift was purely one of perception, a turning of attention from the content of experience to the aware presence that holds it. This is the radical heart of the teaching. Our entire culture is built on the self-improvement mindset. It tells us we are broken projects that need fixing. We must acquire more knowledge, build better habits, achieve higher states, and become someone new. It is a never-ending future project, and it secretly reinforces the very problem it tries to solve. Every attempt to become a better, more spiritual person whispers the same underlying message. You are not okay as you are. The I am that tales point in the exact opposite direction. They are not about becoming, they are about being. They are not about building a new self, but seeing through the illusion of the old one. The freedom they describe is not a future reward for good spiritual behavior. It is the nature of what you already are right now, prior to any improvement. Think of it like this. You are watching a gripping, intense movie. You are completely identified with the hero, feeling their fear, their joy, their struggle. That is the normal human state, lost in the story of me. Then, for just a second, you remember you are sitting in a theater. The light from the projector catches your eye. You feel the chair beneath you. In that moment, you are still watching the same movie, but you are no longer lost in it. You have recognized the context, the screen upon which the drama is playing. The movie might still be scary or sad, but the panic is gone because you know, fundamentally, that you are safe in your seat. The shift in the tales is exactly that. It is not changing the movie of your life. It is waking up to the fact that you are the aware space, the screen, in which all the scenes, pleasant and painful, are merely appearing. This recognition cannot be manufactured by the mind, which is just another actor in the movie. It happens when the seeking effort collapses and attention rests in its own source. It is a grace, but a grace that is always available because what you are looking for is what is looking. So these stories are not ancient artifacts. They are mirrors. They show you the possibility of your own awakening, not as a distant spiritual trophy, but as the simple, shocking recognition of what has been true all along. You are not the story of your life. You are the silence between the words, the awareness before the thought, the vast and peaceful presence that allows the entire world, in all its beauty and difficulty, to be. The air in the small hut was thick with incense and the quiet weight of impending farewell. For decades, the disciple had sat at the master's feet, drinking in every word, every silence, every gesture. Now the master lay on a simple cot, his breathing shallow, his body visibly receding from the world. The disciple's heart was a knot of grief, a deep, primal fear of losing the one who had been his anchor, his guide, his light. He held the old man's frail hand, tears streaming down his face, consumed by the story of separation in its most absolute form. I am losing him, I will be alone. This is the end. In that moment of raw sorrow, the master's eyes fluttered open. They held not pain nor fear, but a gentle, boundless clarity. With immense tenderness, he looked at his weeping student. He did not offer comfort about an afterlife. He did not speak of legacy or memory. Instead, with his last whisper of breath, he asked a single question. Who is it that is dying? Then he was gone. The question hung in the silent room like a thunderclap. At first, it felt like a cruel riddle, but in the shockwave of the master's passing, something within the disciple shattered. His grief did not vanish, but it suddenly had nowhere to land. The question turned his attention inward, away from the lifeless form on the bed, to the one who was witnessing the death. Who was this I that was grieving? Was it the body, the mind, the collection of memories of the master? As he looked directly at that feeling of me, he saw it was a constellation of thoughts and sensations, all appearing and disappearing within a vast, still awareness. And that awareness was untouched. It was the same awareness that had witnessed his first meeting with the master, all their years together, and now this moment of parting. The master's body was here, but the presence the disciple had loved, the silent, loving intelligence that had always shone through the master's eyes, that was not in the body. It had never been confined to it. It was the same presence that was looking out of his own eyes right now. The ultimate separation, the one between the living and the dead, between existence and non-existence, began to dissolve. He realized the master's final lesson was the greatest gift. He was not pointing to a philosophy, but to the disciple's own true nature, which does not come and go. The body-mind is born and dies, a temporary formation of elements, like a wave rising and falling back into the ocean. But the ocean itself, the conscious presence that you are, is not born and does not die. It is the timeless space in which the entire drama of a lifetime, from first breath to last, unfolds. To identify solely with the body-mind is to sentence yourself to death. To recognize yourself as the awareness in which birth and death are witnessed is to step into freedom from both. This tale addresses the root of all fear. Every anxiety, every clinging, every moment of lack is, in its essence, a small rehearsal for the final fear of annihilation. We are afraid of losing what we think we are. But what if what you truly are cannot be lost? The master did not console the disciple with a promise of meeting again in another form, though that may be true. He did something far more direct. He used the powerful circumstance of his own death to point beyond all circumstances to the one thing that never arrives and never departs. The disciple's grief transformed. It was no longer a personal tragedy, but a profound, impersonal ache of love for a form that had served its purpose. The love itself, the connection he felt, did not die. It remained as the very substance of his being. He realized he was not mourning the loss of the master's presence. He was mourning the loss of a mirror, and in that realization he became the mirror itself, reflecting the same timeless presence the master had always pointed to. The fear of death is the final fortress of the separate self. When that fortress is seen through, life is not diminished, but lived with a shocking, vibrant intimacy. Every moment becomes precious not because it will be lost, but because it is an eternal expression of what you truly are, forever untouched by time's passage. The master's final breath was not an end, but an ultimate, uncompromising pointing. This recognition does not require you to leave your life or sit in a cave. It is meant to be lived right here, in the middle of everything. The tales are not just for contemplation, they are a blueprint for a fundamental shift in how you meet each moment. The most direct practice is self-inquiry, simply asking, "Who am I?" But this is not a question for the thinking mind to answer with a list of roles or traits. It is a gentle turning of attention inward, away from the objects of experience to the subject itself. In a moment of stress or strong emotion, pause. Instead of getting lost in the story of why you are angry or afraid, feel the feeling itself. Then softly ask, to whom does this feeling appear? Who is aware of this anger? Do not look for a conceptual answer. Look for the space of awareness that holds the feeling. This simple turning of the light of attention back upon itself is the most profound spiritual practice there is. It is the traveler stopping his story, Sarah noticing the birdsong. It is coming home to the I am before it gets tangled in any story. Another doorway is to observe the sense of I itself. Throughout your day, notice how this sense of being a separate self arises. It appears as a subtle thought, a feeling of ownership. I am late, I am tired. I like this, I dislike that. See if you can watch that I thought come and go without immediately buying into its narrative. You are not trying to destroy it, but to see it for what it is, a temporary appearance in consciousness, not the master of the house. This creates a crucial gap between you and your reactions, allowing you to respond from clarity instead of reacting from habit. From this space, you can begin to see the world itself as a manifestation. This does not mean everything is an illusion to be dismissed. It means seeing the aliveness in all things as expressions of the same conscious reality. Look at a tree, a cup, a stranger's face. Instead of seeing inert objects or separate people, try to sense the intelligence, the beingness shining through the form. The tree is an expression of life, intelligence, and growth. The cup is an expression of earth, fire, and human creativity. The stranger carries the same fundamental presence that you are. This is not a poetic metaphor, but a way of perceiving that dissolves the hard boundaries between seer and seen. It is the king recognizing himself in the beggar. A common challenge is spiritual bypassing, using these ideas to avoid genuine human emotion or responsibility. Non-separation is not a license to be passive or indifferent. True understanding brings immense compassion and engagement because you feel the suffering of the world as your own. You do not say, "This pain is just an illusion," and walk away. You say, "This pain is appearing in the awareness we share, and so I am moved to act with kindness." You meet life fully, but without the added weight of a personal drama. Another trap is trying to force an experience of oneness. The mind cannot grasp this, it can only get out of the way. You cannot make the sun rise by effort, you can only remove the blinds. The practices are about removing the blinds of habitual identification, not about constructing a new experience. The peace you seek is not a future event, it is the nature of the aware presence reading these words right now. So start small, let your daily life become your monastery. Let a moment of irritation, a flash of joy, or the simple act of washing a dish be your invitation to pause, to inquire, and to rest as the aware space that holds it all. The truth of I am that is not a distant revelation. It is the quiet hum of existence waiting for you to stop, listen, and recognize it as your own. These stories are not just ancient parables. They are mirrors held up to the very nature of experience itself, each one reflecting the same simple, startling truth. From the traveler who stopped seeking to the king who saw himself in a beggar, from Sarah lost in traffic to the disciple facing death, every tale points beyond the story of a separate self to the boundless awareness in which all stories unfold. The message is not complex, it is the most direct thing imaginable. I am that. You are not a fragment of the universe, you are the wholeness momentarily experiencing itself as a fragment. The peace you long for, the sense of unshakable connection you crave, is not a distant destination on a long spiritual journey. It is the ground of your being right here, right now. It has never been absent, it is simply overlooked because we are so captivated by the content of our lives, the thoughts, the roles, the dramas. that we forget the conscious space that holds them. This overlooking is the only problem. The story of being a separate, fragile self is a compelling narrative, a habit of perception so ingrained it feels like reality. But like any habit, it can be seen through. These tales are invitations to do just that, to pause, to question, to look closely at the one who feels separate and ask, what is this really? When you do, you may find that the seeker dissolves into the sought, the watcher merges with the watched, and what remains is a quiet, undeniable sense of being home. This homecoming requires no belief, only a willingness to look, so we invite you to sit with these stories, let them work in the background of your mind. Notice when you feel most alone, most identified with a struggle or a role, and gently remember the king, the traveler, or the bird on the highest branch. Which of these tales whispered something true to you? We would love to hear your reflections in the comments below. If this exploration into the heart of who you are has been meaningful, consider subscribing. We continue to journey together into life's deepest wisdom, not as separate seekers on different paths, but as expressions of the same timeless awareness, waking up to itself one story at a time.